Sports Talk Chicago. Here for Jon Zaghloul, great to have all of you here with us. John Meadows is directing and producing. We are live on all of our great radio and TV affiliates across Illinois and Indiana. WROK 101.1 Peoria Sports Radio, 98.3 The Life, WKAN 105.5 The Ticket, ACTV, JTV, WJOB, and Cities 92.9 Talk FM. The Bears have a new stadium. We talked about it in segment 1. I told you why I'm not a big fan of the taxpayer-funded initiative. Want to hear more about it, go back and podcast at sportstalkchicago.com. Go on our YouTube page, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. So we're just 50 subscribers away from 19,000. And we're right on the road to 20,000. We'll be there before you know it, I'm sure. You could also follow us all over at Sports Talk Chicago on social media. So let's talk Cubs now. Let's talk baseball. We got the White Sox next segment. I'm building up to that, people, so don't worry. We got a lot to talk about with them. But I do want to discuss the Cubs. Talk about a success story. I saw somebody tweet today that they're worried about the Cubs and their injuries and how it could derail a perfect season. Here's what I say to that. So far, so good. As of this taping, the Cubs are 14-9. They're second in the NL Central. A lot of time to go there. But talk about guys performing who we probably didn't expect to perform. And then a couple of guys who still aren't performing, who we addressed and talked about last week, who still have some issues they need to work on. We're going to discuss all that here. I want to start with, right now, not only the potential Rookie of the Year through 4 starts, but maybe the Cy Young Award winner through 4 starts. I mean, has to do probably, 28 more, but Shota Umanga. I got to say something here. A lot of Cubs fans were not happy with his signing simply because the Cubs missed out on the Dodgers' Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Cubs fans were not happy. Why didn't you get Yamamoto? You didn't want to spend the money, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll tell you what, Yamamoto's ERA is over 4 right now, and Umanga's ERA is under 1. 4 starts, 3-0 record, .84 ERA, 21 strikeouts, 21 innings. This guy's a stud. And I'll tell you what, I did not expect that out of him at all. I was expecting maybe middle of the rotation type stuff. Certainly, I didn't expect anything bad, but I was thinking maybe 3.5, 3.6 ERA, 14-11 record, maybe 150 strikeouts. This guy's killing it. Umanga is killing it right now. 30-year-old rookie, and I think has the potential, if this continues, to not only be the Rookie of the Year, but the NL Cy Young Award winner. He's certainly on track if he keeps up at this pace. I don't know if that's going to happen, but how about the biggest surprise of this season so far, by far, is Shota Umanga. There's no doubt about it. I am pleasantly surprised. I'm stunned. I'm excited for him, too. And right behind him is Javier Assad, which I'm not surprised about. You know, it really baffled me because I remember in spring training reading that Assad may not be a lock to be a starting pitcher. Why the hell not? He did so good last year down the stretch. If it wasn't for him and his efforts to step in out of the swingman role into the starting rotation and perform the way in which he did, the Cubs would not have been in playoff contention as late as they were in the season. That's the truth. Man, Javier Assad stepped up big time last year as a youngster, was tossed into a situation that he really shouldn't have been tossed into, and performed. So the fact that the Cubs were thinking about not rewarding him for that was malpractice. Fortunately, they did, and he's still performing, which is not a surprise. Assad so far is 2-0 in 4 starts, 2.11 ERA, 21 innings, 21 strikeouts. His ERA plus is at 2.02. Umanga's is at 504, which is unbelievable. Both of those guys are doing a great job at anchoring this rotation and making sure that everything goes the right way. Jamison Tyone came back, made his first start, actually did good. I don't expect that to last, but we'll see. 1 start, 1.80 ERA. Went 5 innings, got the win. Justin Steele, hopefully, is going to be coming off the IL soon. And, you know, the Cubs have also had Ben Brown get a couple of starts in there as well. So the starting rotation, with the exception of one player, which we'll talk about in a second, has been doing great. That's been a big reason why they are 14-9. It's been huge. And their lineup's been good, too. Really has. I mean, Cody Bellinger just got hurt, which is unfortunate, but other guys have been picking up the slack. Michael Busch, 26-year-old rookie, hitting .292 still. .949 OPS, 6 homers already. Michael Busch is killing it. Nico Hoerner has turned it back on as of late. A slow start, but hit over 400 last week to propel season average up to 272. He's doing really well. Nico Hoerner, in my opinion, is one of the best all-around second baseman in baseball. He may not be a power hitter, but he's an amazing defender. He's a good average hitter, good contact hitter, and he's still good for 10 to 15 home runs per year. Nico Horner and Dansby Swanson up the middle is a really good double play combo, good defensive middle infield. And, Dansby struggling right now, but hopefully he'll pick it up. If he performs like he did last year, it's one of the best hitting middle infields in baseball, too. Miguel Amaya, the heir apparent to Wilson Contreras, hitting .273 in 15 games. He's playing well. So there's a lot to like about this Cubs lineup in general. And according to Baseball Reference, which I have in front of me here, almost all of their starting lineup has OPS pluses over 100. Well, 100's league average. If you're above 100, that means you are that percentage above league average. So Michael Busch, for example, at 161, he is hitting 61% above league average. That's like MVP type stuff if he keeps it down. So the Cubs lineup is clicking on all cylinders. The rotation, for the most part, is doing well. There are a lot of things that we have to like. Matt Mervis just got the call back up. We'll see how he does. Matt Mervis has been, for all intents and purposes, a bust, so maybe he has an opportunity to redeem himself here at DH and first base. He'll be going back and forth. And even on the bench, in terms of depth, Mike Tauchman continues to play well. And Alexander Canario in 8 games also is hitting .286. I love this Cubs lineup, and for the most part, I love this rotation. But here's the interesting thing. And I know it's only been a week since we last talked. The same people who were causing the Cubs problems last week are still doing it here now. And unfortunately, the problems are so dire and frankly so horrendous that it is taking up a lot of media coverage when really it should be, hey, this team is a success. They're 14-9. That should be the majority of the coverage. And in some cases it is. But every time these players get an opportunity to pitch, things just go downhill. And it's talked about frequently. Kyle Hendricks is one. So Kyle Hendricks right now, 34 years old as we know, 0-3, 12 ERA, 5 starts. His ERA plus is 35, one of the worst in baseball. ERA is at 12, one of the worst marks in baseball. He's given up 28 runs and 37 hits in 21 innings pitched. I don't know what the problem is with Kyle Hendricks. And when I hear Craig Counsell talk about it, when I hear Jed Hoyer talk about it, when I hear Kyle Hendricks talk about it, everybody keeps saying, we're searching for answers. We have to have tough conversations. We're searching for answers. I'm not for cutting somebody, especially like Hendricks in the first month of a new season, but I'll tell you this. If it's June 1st and this is continuing, something's got to give. Okay, this is eerily similar to the Jake Arrieta experiment the second time around. The first time it went great. Then Arrieta went on to the Phillies. Then he came back to the Cubs in his last year. His ERA was like at 7. The Cubs traded him to San Diego. His ERA was at a 6. Then he retired. Nobody wanted him anymore because it just wasn't working. And that's the same here right now, at least with Kyle Hendricks. I mean, a 12 ERA is just disgustingly horrible. Pains my eyes to look at it here on the screen. Something's got to give. And I understand Kyle Hendricks' legacy. I understand he's the last part of the 2016 team. I get it. I know. I like Kyle Hendricks. I like him as a pitcher. I like his philosophy. I like what he stands for. He's a legit pitcher, not a thrower, not a strong-armed, 100-mile-per-hour fastball slinger. He is a pitcher, and he is smart. But I'll say it now, I think maybe the game's passed him by a little bit. Throwing 85 right down the middle is just a home run every time. If your pitches aren't moving, if they don't have the movement that they once had, if you are unable to control your pitches and unable to keep things in check, there's going to be a problem. I mean, Hendricks even has 7 walks in 21 innings. That's a little bit high for him right now. That's uncharacteristic of him. His walk percentage is up. His strikeout percentage is down. He's given up more home runs and more earned runs overall. His field independent pitching even is at a 7.73, which is super high. So Kyle Hendricks has the warning signs of just everything. Every possible warning sign that you're worried about, it's popping up with Hendricks. It's like a car that just has like all the warning lights pop up at once. You're driving the car, check engine light. Oh no. Brake light, tire pressure. All of it's popping up at once and there's just no solution. And eventually that car is going to break down, right? Over time, if you get 100 warning lights at once on your car, it might as well just break down. It's going to. And for Kyle Hendricks, every possible warning sign is there. So if he doesn't have a couple of good starts by June, and there's just no progress whatsoever, if I were the Cubs, I'd try to DFA him. I mean, no one's going to want him as part of a trade piece, or just flat out outright release him and move on. It might be difficult and tough from a heart perspective, but it's the right move in terms of, hey, we need to win now. The Cubs are past rebuilding. They're past, we need to put butts in seats. They have enough players, and they're winning enough to keep people engaged. They don't need to worry about a relic from 2016 that isn't performing anymore. It's not like it was 2-3 years ago. And even at that time, Jed Hoyer made the decision to get rid of everybody anyway. Because he's smart, and he knows what he's doing. And I feel like he knows what he's doing here, too. And I know Jed knows. I mean, there's no doubt. You watch his performance, and you know, and you see it, okay, something's off here. This is not working. This isn't the Kyle Hendricks of 2016. This isn't the clutch Kyle Hendricks that we saw during the World Series. This is a broken down machine. And what are we going to do with it? See, and that's the issue we talked about last week. You know, it's not like you could just move him to the bullpen. Kyle Hendricks throws 85 miles per hour. It's not like you can move him to the bullpen, add a couple of extra miles per hour on his fastball because he's only thrown 1 or 2 innings. It's not going to work that way. It's not like a Wade Davis situation where failed starter goes to be a reliever. He's only thrown 1 inning or 2. His fastball velocity goes up and he becomes a dominant closer. That's not going to happen with Kyle Hendricks. He is purely a finesse pitcher who relies heavily on sliders and curveballs and changeups to outsmart the hitters. And I respect that, and I'll always respect that. Mark Burley, Greg Maddux, right? Those pitchers I love. Those are my favorite types of pitchers in baseball. But when you're Kyle Hendricks and you're throwing 85 right down the middle, and you don't have good control of your pitches that you once had, you're going to get lit up. And that's what's happening right now. And here's the part that's tough. And it sounds harsh, but I'm going to say it. He is actively contributing to the Cubs losing games. And that's when it becomes a problem. Not a big fan of WAR, right? Wins above replacement, because it's an aggregation. It's an estimate. You know, you get guys with a 0.2 WAR when they have 100 RBIs. That's dumb. But I'll tell you this. Kyle Hendricks is a 12 ERA and he's 0-3. He's actively contributed to 3 losses for this Cubs team already. They're 14-9, partially due to Kyle Hendricks. So that's measurable and that's real. That's not an estimate. It's not, his WAR is whatever. I'm sure his WAR is negative right now anyway. But the point is, you could actively see him losing games for the Cubs. And for a team that is killing it otherwise, to their credit, they can't have somebody like Hendricks slowing them down. So there's going to need to be a decision soon on what to do with him. And here's somebody else we need to talk about too. We talked about him last week. We're going to talk about it again. Adbert Alzolay. So here's somebody who is now hitting rock bottom. 4.09 ERA. 3 saves, ton of blown saves already. I believe it's 5 as of this taping. He's only pitched 11 innings, and he's given up 4 home runs and 5 runs in total. 10 strikeouts, ERA plus now 106, which is really bad for a closer. Here's somebody else who's actively contributed to losses on this team. He has 2 losses already and 5 blown saves. So he has actively contributed to 7 losses for this team. That's crazy. And I don't know what's going wrong for him too, right? Because last year, he transitioned into the closer's role, and it seemed like a perfect fit to his credit. And I thought I was so happy for him because he was a bust before that. Like it or not, he was a bust. The Cubs thought of him to be one of their next big starting pitchers. They tried it out. It didn't work. Then he was kind of bouncing around to the bullpen. It was kind of, are we going to keep him around? Then a need came up for the closer role, and he did great last year. So much so that I thought this year was going to be his coming out year. Maybe 30, 35 saves, under 3 ERA, all-star appearance. Not been the case. And I don't know if that's even going to change. His ERA's gone up by a whole run in just a week since we last spoke. He's blown a couple of more saves. He's added a loss to his record. And he has just given up so many home runs. He's walking too many people. It's only been 11 innings of work And he's given up 4 home runs and 4 walks. He struck out 10. This is not the Adbert Alzolay that we saw last year, commanding, pounding the strike zone, recording outs, being confident. This is a different Adbert Alzolay. Now, he's going to have to work through this. And I think the Cubs are trying to do that and see if he can really work his way out of it. But if he doesn't, they're going to have to turn the reins over to somebody else in terms of either closing / setting up in the late innings. Hector Neris, who is supposed to be good as a 3.86 ERA right now, he's kind of calming down a little bit. He has 1 save already. Daniel Palencia has a save, 2 to his name, but he's on the 40-man roster. He's been optioned back down. So my point is, I don't know what they're going to do at closer. But I would say this, that if Adbert Alzolay is still doing this in another week, you may need to make a change ASAP. And he could win back the job down the road during the season. There's always room for that. But right now, again, he's actively losing the Cubs games. For a team that's 14-9, that's in win-now mode, that's expected to win the division, that spent some money this offseason, that is actually playing well, people like Alzolay and Hendricks are holding them back. And this is not hatred. This is not, oh, I don't like them. This is the truth. They have actively contributed to losing games for the Cubs. Kyle Hendricks, every start he pitches in. Alzolay, pretty much every game he closes. Something's got to give here. They're playing so well besides those two. And those two are ruining what the team has put together as a collective effort. And that's the part that's troubling to me. So I really hope the Cubs figure it out with those two, because everybody else is clicking on all cylinders. I got no complaints from anybody. Really, I don't. I hope that Cody Bellinger's injury is going to be a quick recovery. Seiya Suzuki's on the 10-day IL. I hope he comes back soon. Same with Justin Steele, who got hurt on opening day. They're all going to be back soon. When this team's at full strength, they're going to be fine. And I think they're going to easily make the playoffs even in spite of these issues. But if these issues don't get corrected, they may not win the division. They may not go far in the postseason. That's why they need to really work all this out now. That way down the road, they're going to be ready. But other than that, really good start for the Cubs and manager Craig Counsell, who's working with one hand behind his back. I mean, you got Kyle Hendricks and Alzolay blowing games for you left and right. You're still 14-9. Credit to him for being a really good manager and working with the roster that he has to win baseball games. See, the Cubs have a lot to be excited about.